Hey, I'm Darryll Stinson. I'm a suicide survivor and founder of Second Chance Athletes. And today I'm a guest on The Inspiring Show.
Welcome to The Inspiring Show with Paul and Jennifer Hensel, featuring inspiring interviews with thought leaders, storytellers, entrepreneurs, influencers, and legacy builders just like you. Learn from experts about finding your voice, mastering your mindset, and creating movements with your message. Tap into timeless wisdom and today's top strategies for transcending to new levels of success, happiness, and joy.
Hi, everyone. This is Paul Hensel from The Inspiring Show. Now, I have a great guest today that I'm interviewing on our podcast, and his name is Darryll Stinson. Darryll Stinson is an athletic transition thought leader, rapper, and suicide survivor. As a dynamic speaker and certified John Maxwell coach, he shares his life experience of overcoming addiction, childhood rejection, mental illness, depression, and multiple suicide attempts to produce success in his life and inspire others to experience the abundant life. Darryll played defensive end at Central Michigan University, where he was part of that 23rd nationally ranked team. Darryll also founded Second Chance Athletes in 2017, a holistic athletic transition company which helps former and forgotten athletes reach their full potential on and off the field. So sit back and enjoy my interview with Darryll Stinson. Thank you so much for joining us today, Darryll. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest on our show.
It's an honor, man.
Nice. I'm looking forward to hearing more about you. So now, what was your life like growing up?
Oh, man. Are you ready for the childhood trauma? My life growing up was exciting and then got really confusing really fast. And I mentioned this in my TEDx talk, Overcoming Rejection. I talk about how I was in accelerated learning classes, one of the smartest kids in the class, had all the charisma, everyone liked me, so I thought. And then one day, as I'm going down the hallway, I see a group of Black students circled together laughing. And I'm like, I want to get in on the jokes. So I walk over to these students and I say, hey, y'all, what's so funny? They turned towards me and they said, you, white boy. Because where I'm from, being in accelerated learning classes as a Black male meant that I was the only Black kid in all white classes. And I had been known in our school as the Black kid that talks and acts white. And that was the first time in my life in the third grade that I started to question whether who I was good enough for the world. Huh. I know there's many people, I see a counselor to this day. Every counselor starts with, tell me about your childhood. Because kids are hurtful and mean. Sometimes we're still stuck at that age. And that was me all the way through college. And I know we'll probably get there, but that was the majority of my childhood, was dealing with that one painful moment of rejection. Wow. And changing who I was to be liked and loved by others. I changed the way I talked. I changed the way I walked, the way that I dressed, the music I listened to, the movies I watched. I even changed the way that I laughed. All because I wanted to fit in with a crowd that didn't even know who they were.
Wow.
And that's it. I started skipping school, getting bad grades, just because I wanted to fit in with these Black kids that rejected me.
But now you obviously found success playing sports, playing football.
Yes, absolutely. So around the 7th or 8th grade, I started. So I was a very uncoordinated person. I was growing fast. My shoes were size too big because my mom was like, I can't keep buying you a new pair of shoes every 2 months. So she would just buy the size above so I can grow into them. We weren't that wealthy growing up. And around the 7th or 8th grade, my coordination started to catch up with my height. And I started to get really good at all sports, mainly basketball, track, and football. and started to get attention, got ranked number 3 in our state for basketball, got ranked in the nation for football, and started to get a lot of attention, a lot of media, a lot of press. And for me, what sports did was it gave me an identity and the freedom to not have to choose between the white crowd and the black crowd, because everybody wanted to talk to me about sports. They didn't care if I was talked and acted white or if I was, listening to street music or whatever. They just wanted to talk to me about how many points I scored.
Yeah.
And so to me, sports was my ticket out. It was the way that I was going to be successful, famous, liked, loved. It was my everything. It was my God. It was my identity. And I made up in my mind in the 7th grade that I was going to not just go and be a professional athlete, but that I would be the greatest athlete of all time. That was my mentality. And unfortunately, I had a rude awakening my freshman year at Central Michigan University, where I got my full ride scholarship at.
So what happened?
Cliffhanger. You got to tune into the next episode to find out. No, I'm just kidding, man. So I go to my freshman year. I got the big head. I'm the best thing since sliced bread, like everybody else who goes on the college campus. And I was trying to impress the seniors with how much I could squat. And I came down wrong, and I basically pinched a nerve in my back.
Ooh.
And I didn't know it at the time because I'm Mr. Tough Guy. I just thought, oh, man, I just kind of hurt it a little bit. I'll just pull back a little bit. And I was athletic enough that even with this pinched nerve, I was still leading in workouts, accelerating on the field. So it never went off in my head that, man, this is a serious injury until I went a whole summer season and spring season as well, until I found out, because I hit my left leg and it was completely jello. And my right leg was straight muscle. And I was like, what is going on? I go get an MRI. I had to have emergency back surgery because the doctor said that my nerve had been pinched so long that if I didn't get a surgery within a week, I was going to be paralyzed. So thank God he did my surgery on a Sunday when he was supposed to be off because he was booked for 6 months. Shout out to Dr. Shell in Saginaw, Michigan. And that was supposed to be it for me. I was supposed to sign a waiver so that the university was not responsible for my injuries. And then I could come around football whenever I want and then get a free education because I had a full ride scholarship.
Yeah.
But I decided to sign a liability waiver, which meant that it would waive the university of any liability if I were to get injured or die on the field. And they let me come back and play, and I earned a starting position, but I did so at the cost of my health. So for 2 years, because when you are a Division I football player and you have a back surgery, you can get opioids. So for 2 years, I manipulated the healthcare system to get extra opioids. I got multiple epidural shots in my back. I was getting pain steroid pills. I was paying for these medical expenses out of pocket. I hate this is embarrassing to admit, but I don't know if anyone has ever seen a medical bill, but it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And so in order to cover my medical expenses, I started selling drugs all throughout the state of Michigan to cover my healthcare costs. And this happened for 2 years. My life was completely out of control. I would go from practices to selling drugs to film sessions, selling drugs to classes, selling drugs to picking up drugs and then coming back and going to games. And it was just, it was just a blur for 2 years. Wow. But in my mind, I was doing all of this just to make it to a professional athlete. I'd stop selling drugs and I'd be successful and rich and all that stuff. Unfortunately, the opioids stopped numbing my pain. And going into my senior year, I was taking so many opioids that it was thinning my blood to the point where every time I made contact on the field, my nose would bleed. The coaches saw that I was having some frequent nosebleeds, and they said, look, we don't know what you're doing, but you're going to kill yourself, and we can't let you do this. So they kicked me off of the team. I never got to finish my senior season. It's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about helping other athletes now, especially in this time where many of their seasons have got ended shortly due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, they kicked me off the team, and that's when I had to face all these feelings of depression and insecurity that had been there since I was a child because I couldn't hide behind sports. I
Mm,
know what
yeah.
it's like to hide behind external success and have internal failure. That's where I was. And I didn't want to face my pain. I didn't think my life was worth living outside of sports. So I became suicidal. I started mixing my opioid pills with alcohol.
Uh,
I started drinking and driving, hoping that a car accident would end it all. I would swallow my entire pill bottle of opioids, hoping that I would OD and never wake up again. And all these attempts at suicide landed me in a psychiatric unit. Thankfully, um, I had a life-changing experience there in that psychiatric unit that gave me hope and purpose, and developed a belief that my life had meaning. And that's where I developed my faith. And that has been the primary reason why I lived, why I live, and what helped see me through these dark times was my
mm.
faith.
Well, thank you for sharing.
No problem.
And I can only imagine, sharing, as a kid, and then, trying to find your identity to kind of fit in, and
Yeah.
realizing, oh man, I'm an athlete. I'm good at
Mm-hmm.
sports. You
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of success, and then, an unfortunate injury, and wow, you hear, so many stories of people, getting addicted to the opioids.
Yep.
And I just want to ask you, was it a cycle of like, um, okay, so I'm taking those shots to get myself on the field so I can play, and
Mm-hmm.
then that cycle of how much or whatever that kind of wears out, and you got to take more.
Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah, I definitely think your body adjusts and gets used to the dosage amount.
Yeah,
And so definitely because I was more than the thrill or the high from the drug was me being numb to my pain so I can continue to play. And so when I could still feel pain and it wouldn't allow me to perform on the field like I wanted to, I would just take more.
yeah,
And then now, um, while liking the fact that I'm not in pain, because when it wears off, the pain comes back.
oh yeah,
And then you take more, and then you take more, and you take more. So absolutely, it was a little bit that led to a lot, which is why the best time to talk about a struggle is when it begins. They say, when's the best time to treat cancer? When it starts.
yeah,
It's the same way with any type of opioid addiction, any type of addiction, any type of problem you have. The best time to talk about it is before it becomes uncontrollable.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. A lot of people struggle with that. And then, also going through, having to pay for astronomical medical expenses, I can only imagine. And that,
Hmm.
leading you into a life that you did not want to take. Then it's kind of like, well, the one thing you found your identity with is now
Hmm.
gone. And
Yes.
what are you going to do?
Hmm.
So, what would your advice be for anyone who might be stuck or struggling with that depression?
We say this so much, and it's common sense, but it's not common practice. Talk to someone.
Mm,
Depression is a force of darkness. Let me say it again. Depression is a force of darkness that doesn't want to be comforted.
mm,
When you are facing depression, the lie that's going through your mind is that my life doesn't matter, nobody cares, and
yeah,
the worst is that nobody can relate.
mm,
It's all lies. So
yeah,
how do you defeat that? You talk to somebody, you know what you find out? Somebody does care, somebody can relate, and your life does matter. It starts with talking. You cannot conquer what you're unwilling to confront.
mm,
That's why it's so hard because the responsibility is really on the individual. Here's usually why we don't say it. It's because we believe those lies, number one. And then number two, we think that because we have weakness or a struggle with
mm,
depression or mental illness, which
yeah,
is a whole nother conversation, sort of, because I don't think people realize that mental illness is a real thing. I think it's becoming increasingly aware to the public. I think people are starting to grasp, like, okay, people have mental illness and it doesn't mean that they are schizophrenia or something like that. Like, you can just literally have a chemical imbalance. I don't think people understand it. I didn't. I had a chemical imbalance. I did not know that. So it's recognizing that just because you're having some mental issue doesn't mean you're less valuable. If you can realize that, and I say this, it's cheesy, but it's helpful. I say, look, because here's the problem. If you think that your struggle mentally makes you less valuable, you'll never share. Okay.
Right.
And here's what I tell people. Even Superman had kryptonite. Okay. It's not either or, it's both and. You can still be Superman, Superwoman, and have a mental health kryptonite.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think everybody in the world, this is a bold belief, everybody in the world has a little bit of mental illness. I do. I think we all got a little crazy. We all got a button that somebody can press. Like, we all have something mentally. I believe everybody needs somebody to talk to. Everybody needs a counselor. So I'm trying to even the playing field so that you don't feel less valuable because you struggle mentally or you struggle with anxiety or whatever. So talk about it. Recognize that your life does matter. You're not alone and people can relate.
And sharing that vulnerability does not make you weaker. Right?
No, it actually makes you stronger.
Yes.
So I used to, when I started speaking and sharing my story of overcoming suicide, I used to tell people, like my first year or two of speaking, that I wasn't bold enough to pull the trigger to my head. That is the dumbest thing I've said as a speaker. The dumbest thing. Think about that. I thought it was weakness because I wasn't courageous enough to pull the trigger. It was actually the exact opposite.
Yeah.
That everything in me wanted to pull it and I did it. That took way more strength. It takes way more strength to keep going when nothing in you wants to keep going than it does to give in and quit. You're not weak because you're struggling. You're actually strong because you're surviving. That's worth the whole podcast.
Love it. That is deep. Now, similar to that topic, what would you say to someone right now who can't get over their rejection or past failures?
Okay. Number one, watch my TEDx talk. Number two, download the free application guide. It teaches you how to go from rejection to success. It walks you through these painful moments, like me as your guide on paper. And then it shows you examples of how I did it in my life and how you can do it too. I believe that at our most painful moments of rejection, underneath those moments is the deepest treasure. Who would Steve Jobs be if he was never rejected by his own company?
Yeah.
Who would Michael Jordan be if he was never rejected by his high school coach? I believe rejection is a catalyst to massive success. So if somebody is feeling like they're stuck, I honestly, man, I'm telling them, watch the TEDx talk, download the guide. Because listen, nothing, I can hype you up and tell you your life matters. I can talk you off a cliff. But nothing breaks the bondage of rejection like success.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got rejected, Black kid that talks and acts white. I developed a deep rooted insecurity about the sound of my voice. Hated the way that I sound. I still don't enjoy it, but hated the sound of my voice. Okay. When I survived suicide and I was called to be a public speaker, now I'm sharing this story. I still have this deep seated rejection, this insecurity. I won't even share my story to help other people because I don't like me. Okay. Now, let me tell you a story when that all changed. I don't like me. I don't want to share my story. I'm barely sharing it. I mumble so people don't hear me. I just want it to be over. I'm not doing a great job. Watch this. One time I told my story. Oh God, this is going to get me. There's a young girl. She walks up to me after. She pulls up her wristband. She was a teenage girl. She's, I think, 14 years old. She says, sir, thank you for your message today. I've been cutting myself for the past 2 years. She said, my parents raised me, and then one day they just got tired of me and dropped me off at an orphanage. Never came back. I don't know what was so wrong with me that they didn't want to raise me. And I've been cutting myself, and I never told anybody until I heard your story today and realized that if you, as someone I look up to, as a person who has played Division I athletics, can struggle with depression, then it's okay that I struggle too. Wow. Immediately I realized something. Overcoming rejection is not about me. It's about how I can help others and serve the world. Nothing breaks rejection like success.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I experienced the impact that my story can make, having that impact was a greater pull than the feelings of rejection in my life.
Yeah.
When you go through the rejection to success guide and you come out on the other side and you find some uniqueness that you need to bring to the world, some things that was buried underneath your pain that you've been holding back and haven't been giving, and you give it and you see the results of you giving it, you're going to want to give it more and more and more and more and more.
Yes.
Here's how I know if I have rejection, because it's, you can't tell. Sometimes we just think rejection is the people who are depressed and not moving forward and they're not successful. But some of the most rejected, depressed people are highly successful.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the question. Here's $1 million question. This is worth everyone listening right now. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On a scale of 0 to 100%, how much of you are you giving the world? 70%. Why? Rejection. Something is, there's a wall at 70% that says no more. I don't want to be rejected. Woo! I'm so excited because that's my mission in life. My mission in life is to get people to give 100% of themselves to the world. I can't control if somebody buys my course. I can't control if somebody hires me to speak. I can't control if my wife likes me. She does. I only can control how much of me I give to the world. I'm trying to get people to love themselves. I'm going to do another TEDx talk. Okay. You can mark this down. You'll be the first person I announce this to. I haven't booked it yet, but I just got a couple of requests. I'm like, I'm going to respond and apply because I want to do a TEDx part 2 to rejection. And I'm going to call it, "Hey, weirdo, stop hiding. The world needs you."
Nice.
Because we all got some quirky gifts. We all got some ideas that if we are afraid of rejection, we'll never release them into the world. So let's do this.
Cool. So what are a good couple things you could tell people to turn that rejection, that failure? Because look, there's that fear in all of us, but turn that into success and greater fulfillment.
Okay. Yes. Great question. All right. You have to reflect. You have to analyze, and you have to reframe. Reflect, analyze, reframe. Okay. Reflect. How do you reflect? Journal. Go back over your life. Look at yesterday and notice moments where you felt rejected. Ask yourself the $1 million 3-letter question. Why? Why did I feel rejected? Well, I felt unloved. Well, they didn't respond to my email. Well, they didn't invite me out to drinks. Why did that bother you? They say if you ask yourself why 5 times, you'll get to the core of what is really the issue.
Yeah.
So you start with reflecting on those moments. And I tell people, just get it all out there. Just start from childhood, like write 20 pages of all your rejection, because now it's out there. Here's what people think. If I don't talk about it, it's going to go away. No, it's there, whether you talk about it or not, and it's bleeding into everything you do. So reflect. Then you analyze and you look at each moment individually, because what we do is we string them all together and we make the same conclusion. The reason why the students made fun of me in 3rd grade is the same reason why I didn't get invited to a party in 9th grade. It's the same reason why I didn't get a promotion when I was working at the university, all because people don't like me because of the way that I talk. Wrong. Each one has its own conclusion. So then you go, and rather than going through the whole life, I would start with the most painful ones, okay? Because there's usually a theme. All right, so the most painful moment that you felt rejection, and I would analyze that. What was really going on there, okay? What I say in my TEDx talk, I say you can reframe it as projection or protection, okay? You've got to go watch your TEDx talk, but in a nutshell, projection is when somebody is subconsciously employing undesirable wants or feelings onto another person. So in other words, if I don't like me, I project that onto you and make you not like you. So I make fun of you because I really don't like me.
Yeah.
So sometimes that is where the rejection is coming from. Oh man, I've got so many stories of people who felt like they weren't good enough, and it really was that the person who made them feel that way felt like they didn't like themselves.
Yeah.
I've heard it said this way. I never met a man who beat his wife that loved himself.
Yeah.
So you've got to analyze it. Say, is this projection happening to me? Okay. So that you can stop attaching that stuff to your identity and you can overcome rejection. The second thing is this protection? Okay. The girlfriend that I was dating for 4.5 years that left me and rejected me was actually protection, because we were never meant to be together. Sometimes the thing that we so desperately think that we need is not what will serve us best for the long term. She's not a bad person. I mean, she was wrong for that act, but she's not a bad person. She just wasn't the person who I was supposed to be with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it wasn't rejection, it was protection. Okay. That's just two ways, but you have to analyze that. You have to look at the scenario from a 360-degree angle, and you have to make accurate conclusions about what happened and not allow your pain to tell you a lie about your story.
I like it.
So once you analyze and then you reframe, now it's time for results. Now you got to make conclusions. I reframed it. Okay, now as I'm reframing this, so I analyze it and I reframe it. And now I say, well, what do I do with this? Okay, so you mean to tell me that the reason why I was rejected in the 3rd grade by those students was because those students didn't like themselves? They were all they didn't know how to be their unique selves. They listened to the same music, dressed the same way, skipped school with each other. They did all of that because they were desperately needing approval because none of them had fathers in their lives. So it's not because something was wrong with me. It's because something was wrong with them. Okay, so now what do I do with that? So if nothing was wrong with me, that means that something was right with me. Okay, so what was right with me? It's actually a good thing to be a Black person that can talk white. And I'm using air quotes right now to talk formally. You know why that's good? I can relate to people in the streets. I can relate to people in the boardroom. I can coach elite athletes, and I can talk to people recovering from addiction. The very thing that made them reject me has been a catalyst to my success.
Nice. Well, Darryll, you have one easy listening to voice.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, no problem. Hey, so what would your advice be to now talented people who have multiple passions?
Oh, great question. All right. So what do I do if I've got an interest, 7 business ideas, 7 books I want to write? Do I really have a purpose, or do I just choose a career and try to do everything at once?
Right.
Here's my fundamental belief. And I have a course through Second Chance Athletes as the distributor, and it is an amazing experience. But you have to get to the core motivation that drives what you do. Here's what I believe. What you do can change. Why you do it usually doesn't. Okay. And here's my big belief. I believe everybody's purpose should be as unique as their fingerprint.
Oh, yeah.
How do I know that? I believe that you should be able to look at a purpose statement that you develop and go, you know what? That's Darryll. Not that can be Johnny, Susie, Darryll, Reggie. No, that's Darryll. So all of these, I'm trying to debunk all of these general statements of people who say that they know their purpose. Well, what's your purpose? My purpose is to help others. Well, what's your purpose? My purpose is to help other people discover their purpose. My purpose is to be a good father, a good mother. No, I believe that's your responsibility. I don't believe that's your purpose, because you can say that about a million other people.
Yeah, true.
But I believe there's only one thing in the world that can be said about you. That's my belief. And so for a person who has multiple passions, I think you have to find the common denominator, the driving factor behind all of that. Why am I doing it? What am I trying to make happen for others? What world am I trying to create? We're all subconsciously trying to create a new world. We want to leave the world a better place. If you describe the world that you want to see, it's going to sound different than the world that I want to see.
Right.
You might use words like peace and joy and happiness. I might use words like abundance, eliminating scarcity, friendship. Somewhere in there is because, let me say it this way. Whatever bothers you is probably because you're called to fix it.
And, I'm sure you would agree. You talked about, you being unique, like your fingerprint.
Yes.
And that the one thing that makes everyone unique is their own story.
Yes.
And embracing that to help others.
Yes. There's a church term that we use that says your misery will become your ministry. Right. And I think that's true for the most part, but pain is a great indicator of purpose. Oftentimes where we are the most wounded, it's because that's the place we'll end up being the most effective.
Yeah.
So if you've got multiple passions, there's some common draw in that, and you've got purpose.
Yeah.
Find out what it is and die empty.
Love it. Now, what would be your top lessons you learned from being a Division I athlete?
That's a good question. I learned that as no matter what you think your limits or your boundary is, there's always room for growth. Nothing pushes you like athletics. I mean, to get pushed to the point of failure and be like, I can't lift another day. I can't do another thing. I need a year break after I have leg day. And they have to get up at 5 a.m. the next morning and do it again. It develops a sense of mental toughness unlike anything other than the military that I've seen. And I learned that when I feel the most stressed, the most pressure, and I think that I had enough, there's always more in the tank.
Yeah.
Isn't that a good lesson? Man. We think it's like we think we peaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We think we peaked, but we haven't. We just have stretch marks.
Yeah, and I think everyone has something in them or something more in them.
Absolutely.
And they may not realize that, but you take that step through that initial fear and what lies on the other side.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really Absolutely. Good. Now, why don't you just take a minute and share with the listeners about it's called Second Chance Athletes, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Second Chance Athletes is a holistic athletic transition company that helps athletes find identity and purpose beyond sports. Okay. So we
Nice.
coach athletes through a 5-step signature framework via one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and now we have it in an online course format. Thank you, coronavirus. So that, and this is the same framework that helped me go from suicide to success. So the 5 steps in just bullet points is we talk about acceptance. How do you get to the point where you no longer desire what was? We talk about belief. How do you develop mindsets to believe that your best days are always ahead? We talk about discovery. This is why we single-handedly sell this course, because this is the hot topic. How do I find my purpose, my unique fingerprint purpose? Okay. Then we talk about pursuit. Now that I know what it is, how do I go after it? And because we primarily speak to athletes and high achievers, we train people on the skill sets that made you successful or a high performer. And how do you execute that in your pursuit of your dreams? Okay. So we got accept, believe, discover, pursue. And then the last step is persist. How do I keep going when the going gets tough? How do I outgrow my stretch marks? How do I make sure that I don't quit? Now, here's the thing. It is not hype. It is not motivation. It's not even inspiration. It is the key to unlock you. We help people take their uniqueness and figure out tips and strategies that helps them get through their personal times. There's a whole process in that. And so this is not just, you got this, you got this, you got this. This is figuring out what pulls you out and learning how to repeat that success.
Love it.
Yes.
Awesome. I like how, you really kind of took what happened to you, what you learned from that, and, now you're giving back and helping others.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Man, there's no greater calling in life but to give back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's dive into our speed round now.
Okay. I'm ready.
Yeah. I ask you 5 quick questions and you just give me the first answer that comes into your head.
Chicken. I'm hungry.
All right. What do you do for fun?
I write music. I watch movies. I play sports.
All right. Nice. What's your favorite quote, if you could pick one?
Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure.
Ooh.
Marianne Williamson.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who has inspired you the most?
It's a tie. I'm cheating between Martin Luther King Jr. because I admire him, but I think inspiration is when you pull stuff out of people. And so then it would be my mentor, my pastor, Travis Hall. He inspires me the most.
Cool. Awesome. What's your favorite book?
I don't have a favorite book. It's so hard. I'm the guy that reads too many books. I don't have a favorite book. Read everything you can, chew the meat, spit out the bones.
Okay. Cool. What is a really good tool or resource you could recommend?
Oh, man. I love Evernote. It runs my life. I love Google Calendar. Just recently, repurpose.io, like that you can live stream and it takes your stuff and puts it everywhere. I use Kajabi for my courses. So those are all my favorite tools so far. That was the first thing. That was a lot of tools. But yeah. So if I had to pick one, Evernote, I can't live without that thing, man.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we use that a lot too. How can people listen and connect with you further?
Follow me on Instagram, Stinson Speaks. Hit up two of my websites, Second Chance Athletes, or you can go ahead and hit me up on DarrylStinson.com if you just want to connect personally. That's where the Rejection to Success guide is at. That's where my TEDx talk is at. The course, curriculum, coaching, community with athletes is all on Second Chance Athletes.
Yeah, I just want to thank you again for taking the time.
It is absolutely my pleasure. I hope, pray that somebody would hear this and go, I'm tired of hiding 30% of myself.
Yeah.
The world is about to get the rest of the 30.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that episode and my interview with Darryll Stinson. Wow, inspiring story, great tips and strategies to help people through that rejection, failure, going through depression. So you can access any links that he has to his website in the show notes. of this episode on our website, www.inspiringshow.com. And please join our Facebook group, follow us on Instagram, and leave a positive review. That would go a long way. And if you would like to join us as a friend of the podcast, we would love your support. You can check out the membership in the menu of our website. Again, www.inspiringshow.com. You receive a lot of great perks, so check it out. So until next time, remember, you have a story and your story matters.